Most religions promote the belief in a God who is a supernatural person. Belief in these persons gives comfort to the followers of each of these religions, because the person God is believed to be loving, merciful, just, or, at least, they're believed to have a plan. I think this may explain why most religions have more followers than the Soul Seed movement. The Soul Seed movement doesn't have a person God, but instead, a personification goddess. We have to work a lot harder to be comforted by her, because sometimes she eats her children.
I'm a seed hidden deep, reaching for the sun. I'm a seed visibly, my journey has begun. I'm a seed, I will find a way across the night. I'm a seed, another world is growing towards the light. I must join my tribe.
Today, on Waking That Cosmic Religious Feeling, I will be using Bondo to smooth out my mannequin's sharp edges, where her pieces connect together. But the real Gaia has sharp edges too, and there is no smoothing them out. As parts of Gaia, when we use weapons against fellow living beings, the sharp edges and points of those weapons are the sharp edges of Gaia harming her own parts. If someone is trying to harm you, there is no point praying to Gaia for salvation. She won't intervene to save you, because that person who is trying to harm you, they are Gaia too. Gaia shapes herself using death as a tool. Death is a key element of evolution, and evolution is what shaped Gaia into the beautiful diversity that we see today. Every day, your body allows 1 billion skin cells to die. If you ever give them a thought, it is probably just to complain that you have to wipe their dead corpses off your mantelpiece, an activity we call dusting. Don't expect Gaia to give you much more thought. But you also take great pains to keep the cells that haven't died healthy. You eat, and your body goes through a great deal of effort to process that food and distribute it in a safe, usable form to all of the cells in your body. You breathe and drink and keep your body safe. Your body cleans the waste out of itself and expels it as carbon dioxide in your breath and as urine. You, as a whole, take care of yourselves, whether you think of them or not. And your cells contribute to the effort, each in the way they are best able to. In the same way, Gaia takes care of you. She provides food and oxygen and water and stabilizes the climate. She does it without thinking about you or loving you. And the parts of Gaia, the trees and the earthworms and the corals and the bees, all contribute to her success. So, through contemplations of Gaia, we can gain comfort that we are cared for. Imagine for a second being transported to the surface of Venus. A second is all you need to imagine, because after a second you would be dead. I am uncertain which would make your death there more painful, the fiery heat, the crushing pressure, or the poison air. At least you would be safe from the sulfuric acid rain, because the surface is so hot that it evaporates before it can reach the desiccated ground. Now return from your imagination to reality here on Terra. Still alive? That is Gaia taking care of you. Be grateful. Now imagine giving someone a gift. It is more than you can afford. It is more than they ever ever had. Yet they look at you and say, "What is this? I wanted the better model." How would you feel? Incensed at the ingratitude? So, Gaia creates a world for you. One in which you don't die in 3 kinds of searing pain in a split second. One in which most people live long enough to have and raise children. One in which everything exists which you need in order to survive and thrive. Now imagine turning to Gaia, looking her in the eye, having received this gift, and saying, "What's this? I wanted everlasting life in a perfect paradise. I'm going to turn my back on you and worship a God who can give me that." This seems the worst kind of ingratitude. If Gaia was a person, she'd be really hurt. She isn't a person, but she isn't just a personification either. She exists. By definition, she is all the plants and animals and fungi and bacteria in the world. And she deserves better. So show your gratitude. Because although Gaia has some sharp edges, she gave you a world you can live in. And for that, she deserves your respect, your love, and your service.
Creatures don't know her, and we don't love her, but even so we really are her, and we are her body. One and all we are shaping Gaia's destiny. The body of Gaia we will be forever, beating to the rhythm of it all. We are all one, we are all together, beating to the rhythm of the call. The body of Gaia we will be forever, beating to the rhythm of it all. We are all one, we are all together, beating to the rhythm of the call.
Hi, today I'm going to be using Bondo autofiller to fill in the seams on this mannequin in order to create a smooth finish. So the first step to get the Bondo to really stick is to do a little sanding, just to rough it up, rough up the surface a little bit where the Bondo's got to stick. And of course, to get this right, I can't just fill the crack. I'm going to have to feather over the crack. So I'm going to need maybe an inch and a half of sanding on each side. So let's see how this goes. Okay, so rather than doing the whole thing and then finding out that I screwed up, I'm just going to do that much, and then I'm going to try the Bondo and see how that works. The thing I need to do is take a damp cloth and wipe that down so that there's no dust from the sanding mixing with the Bondo. Wipe the dust off with a wet cloth. And then I can use the other end of the wet cloth to dry it. Next step, the Bondo. So Bondo comes in 2 parts. There's a hardener and then the actual main filler. The thing to do is to knead the cream hardener tube thoroughly. I guess it means doing this. I have no idea what thoroughly means. Probably cut this part out of the video. For a golf ball size, use an 1.25 inch strip of this. So that's about 1.25 inch. I didn't exactly measure it exactly, but if they're going to give measurements like that, apparently what you do is you scoop a golf ball sized amount of this. I don't play golf. think that's roughly golf ball size. And you mix it. And you only have a short time to use it after you mix it. So, gotta get it good and mixed. So, let's put this stuff on and see how that goes. So, basically, we just spread it over the crack as far as I've sanded. I won't be able to do that in time. Okay, so I'm going to try and spread it in such a way that it's already as feathered as possible. And when it gets a little bit hard, then I have these tools, wire at one end and a wood pallet at the other end, all different shapes, so that you can try to shape the stuff. So I'm going to try the wood pallets and see how they do. This one has a nice curve to it. I can use the back kind of to reach in and just press that stuff down. Yeah, see, I'm getting like a lot of texture now. I'm going to try a metal end and see what it does. Oh, that's cool. That works actually really well. Ah, okay, I've reached maximum. Now I just got to wait for it to dry and then sand it. We're back. It's dry, so it's time to sand it. So they say to use 80 and then 180. So that's what I'm going to do. Oh man, I really didn't get this even. Look at that. That sucks. Now, I should have a breathing mask on. Where was I? Okay. So it is eminently sandable. But you can see, it didn't even fill in the crack. Yeah. Oh, you see the finish is coming right off. Of course, I am refinishing her, so that shouldn't matter. What I was afraid of was that the finish was like layered on something that wouldn't sand well, but it looks like it's good solid fiberglass or whatever, so I think we're going to be okay. Yeah, I'm going to need a longer piece to do that last bit. I'm going to bring it around here so I can see this side better. Okay, so now I'm going to use the 180 to the 180 to just feather around the edges. That's pretty good. That looks pretty good to me. And so once again, I'm at the stage where I need to wipe her down. Get rid of all that dust. There. Now, this time we're going to mix up a smaller amount. So,
This time, I'm going to do like a 1/4 inch. So a very tiny amount of this stuff, this hardener. And then, likewise, I'll reopen the main Bondo can. And instead of a golf ball, I'll use 1/5 of a golf ball. What the hell is 1/5 of a golf ball? I don't know, but maybe that much. So we just mix this up. Okay, so this time, haha, forget the feathering. We're just going to put it on. I mean, there'll be other joints where I have to feather because they're really uneven. But this time I'm like putting on as little as possible. So just kind of fill it. Learning is the upward spiral with which Paul Crefel is most familiar. Early attempts yield poor results, but a great deal of new knowledge that he has used to make later attempts much more effective. The less you put on, the less you have to sand. Yay! The last time, I was filling the whole joint. So this time the joint's sort of mostly filled. So last time's work did not go to waste. Doing it this way, with this much smaller amount of Bondo, I should be able to actually do the entire joint. As it becomes less workable, you kind of have to switch from the wooden tool, which is sort of better at scooping away liquidy stuff, to the metal tool. Oh my, she's not glued at all. Like, I think, this joint is glued. The arm isn't very well glued, and I think the hands are glued. Yeah. But the body did not glue. I think there's sort of like the top of the leg half of the belly is concave, and the bottom of the top half of the belly is also concave, so there's like a gap in the middle, which means that you need more glue. So the glue that's there will provide a good base for the glue, but I think I have to re-glue her. Her arms, yeah, I'm afraid to pull them off because they could break. But they're not glued very well. Hopefully the Bondo makes a difference. We'll see. Okay, well, here it goes. I'm going to redo her belly. See if this thing will still work, or do I need a new tube? Still working. So I'm going to put it closer to the edge, because we know the edge seals. And because it didn't even touch. Like, those are still my marks on the glue. It's so concave that it didn't actually touch where I put the glue. So right along the edge. Clean that up in a sec. Let's put her on. Now, put it on kind of sideways. That was it, right? We rotate. Just a lot of rotation. And then we got glue all over her, around the edges, so wipe that down. Okay, so I'm mixing up another small amount of Bondo. I'm going to do her hand. You can see, like, because I turned her hand sideways and the cross section of her wrist is kind of oval, okay, it makes a large ridge where the narrow part of one oval meets the others. Meets the wide part of the other oval. And it's sort of all the way around, because either you're at the narrow point or at your wide point. There's only like a single point of inflection where things meet up properly. I mean, not a single point of inflection. I think there's 4 points of inflection, isn't there? Because there's 2 ridges one way and 2 ridges the other way, and each of them have an end. I'm feeling the rush, like the hurry up, it's gonna harden. Enough time. Maybe switch to some of the other tools now. So see. Yeah, it wipes off pretty well still. What? Oh. Okay. So, once again, I am using a tiny dab, quite a small scoop of the actual Bondo filler. And now we're going to do the other hand. So, you can see there's a big ridge right here on the side. So we're going to sit side. So I just, again, so it's already hard. And the rest is the cloth. Just wipe away excess that's on the way outside the reference area. Here and here. A reasonable amount of actual Bondo. and mix it up with the hardener. Okay, so you can tell by the color that this has a lot less hardener than the other attempt did. Also a much bigger joint, so I think it's going to take a lot more. I might actually get both shoulders done in one go here. Am I being crazy or what? But as I scrape the excess off this side, if I put it on that side, then I'm not getting... That seemed to work well. I'm just going to use a tiny drop of hardener. Tiny drop right there. You can hardly see it in the video. I'm going to use a very small dollop of actual Bondo here. Let's use the back of the tool, I think, to just... nurturing aspect of Mother Earth kind of thing seems to be related to the open hand. I don't know. Smooth it on, scrape it off. Oh, I did make it. I made it all the way around in theory, but I mean, definitely need enough sanded Bondo. You can see how much less I used once I learned that feathering was not necessary or useful. So you can actually take off some of the ridge by just sanding it. A little worried as to how far that goes down before you hit some kind of, base material that they molded it onto. That's better. I was like an off. Even this needs a little bit more sanding, really. One piece. mostly around from where the it's not really a her, right? She's knit. Now, I just let her dry. Okay, so it's time to do the second, in theory, third coat of Bondo, although the first coat is kind of a test spot, right? And mix it up in there before it hardens. I just have to really got much out of there. Okay, let's fill the bigger ones now. A little drop of the hardener. Mix it up good. It's still really smooth. I'll put some on this seam. Now start working the bigger joints, like mix it all up. Oh, it's so much easier to work with the fresh stuff, you know. Yeah, a little bit more here. Hold still. That's pretty good, but just a little bit in here. Okay, now, ooh, big gap back here. We only got one crappy piece of 80 left, so I may have to be switching to 120 soon. But I'll get it kind of once over with the 80. Anyway, so it's okay. Now, strange questions that come up when you're working on a model of a god is, what does a god's armpit look like? Is that the right shape that I put in there? Little drop because more and more I'm just filling in smaller and smaller problems, so I really don't want to mix up large quantities. So here it goes. Mix it up quick, quick, quick like a bunny. It needs a a little bit right in there too, because they need a lot of work. Yuckiness of the smell. Okay, this is already thickening up. Oh man! Taking the ridges off. Another little drop of hardener. And there's like a minimum amount of hardener you can get out of the tube, or at least that I'm getting out of the tube. I'm saying other people couldn't do better. Okay, so sanding, where it is. Okay, let's start at the top, right? That's basically it, except the inside of her leg, which I bought this for. I need probably use a third hand here. So and a little dab, little tiny dab. Hardly see it there. I gotta get it really up close. Little tiny dab of hardener, and then I take a wee scoop of actual Bondo. And it just makes it a slightly gray pink there. Now this still needs work. There's this little spot here, right here. So I'm just going to give a very light sanding to her belly. And then I'll be able to mark the latitude lines on and figure out where the continents go. On her belly, I've mapped the lines of latitude and longitude. I don't even know if you can see it when I hold the phone this close. There's like lines there going down with mark. So what I've done is for instance, this is Africa here, and this is Africa here, and I've mapped onto it a little bit of Bondo that's got a rough texture I've put into it to map the mountains. They're not very high because mountains are not very high on the earth. They're only like, on this scale, much lower than this. This is highly exaggerated. And then this is Eurasia, or at least up to India and parts of Russia. So there are the Himalayas here, and then across some mountains that go into Iran and Turkey, the Alps at the north of Italy, Greenland and the big ice sheet there. The issue is that A, these mountains are highly exaggerated, and B, the texture is a little too rough. There's like hairs practically coming off instead of mountains. So what I'm going to do is just very lightly sand it to kind of remove some of the relief. Not a lot. I want to keep it, you know, maybe more on Greenland, because it's roughly a pretty smooth glacier up there. I mean, according to the relief map I saw, I don't know. And of course, the randomness of this relief does not map onto the pseudo-randomness of the reality. The next thing is going to be painting her, and the problem with painting is you need a reasonably rough surface to stick to. So I'm going to be sanding her from head to toe in an attempt to get the paint to stick. To be sure. And I don't know what I'm really going to do with her hair. I mean, she should be long-haired, not short-haired, I think. You know, but it should be plant material, vines or ferns or something. That's really glossy lipstick you got on there, girl, and paint will flake. Of course, the parts I've already sanded don't need it. Proves to me that removal of dead skin in a sort of beauty salon setting is called exfoliation. Which means the removal of leaves. This is actually the preparation of adding leaves. And of course, a lot of the tattoos will be plants. Let's do her back. Do our legs. So that should do. The next thing is to wash her down with a cloth and water.
Can you hear the rhythm inside her? The rhythm of her heart